Hello, everyone. Sorry for that delay.
We're good, Billy. Have you got enough pitching yet?
Yeah, I kind of figured that might be a thought in question. It really surprised us, and even a little bit. It definitely wasn't any intent. It just kind of kept happening, and then you look up and you look at the totals, and you're like, oh my God, we took all pitchers. But it does show you just how talent focused we are, and the position and need just doesn't really factor at all.
And was this a good draft to be taking pitching?
We thought so. I mean, as we kept lining up talent on the board, the position player group, A, just went higher than our picks allowed that we really liked, and then B, the kind of like middle ground position player group just wasn't really attractive to us. So we thought it was very clear in favor of the pitching.
Anybody in particular stand out today?
Today, I mean, and I know you're going to love this, Bill, but our first guy, Roboleski from Oklahoma State, he just had Tommy John surgery, so
of course he did.
Yeah, he's our favorite. It's our favorite play. But from a talent standpoint, it's an athletic lefty up to 95 with a plus curveball, and we thought he was maybe in the top 5 round talent range that we were able to get in the 11th round, and we're gonna go through the Tommy John process and hope he comes out on the other end as a healthy, high upside lefty.
How much do you feel like pitching maybe is easier to evaluate after a year of like shutdowns for some of the college guys? Also, just like with some of the showcases, guys aren't really getting into games as often.
There's a little bit of that element this year because I do think the year off impacted the hitters mostly. Now, I will say that part of it is, at the big league level, hitting is really hard right now. So there's a little bit of subconscious. You understand the degree of difficulty it takes, and then trying to match guys who we think can do it sometimes is a tough combination. So I think that's a bigger element, just realizing the bar for hitting at the major league level is so high.
Billy, it's kind of a weird one, but just given how things have maybe changed here at the major league level, right? The idea of the sticky stuff, spin and all that. Does that change at all how you evaluate guys at these levels in terms of guys maybe looking for guys that maybe have two-seam sinker stuff or more command guys? Does that change anything at all?
That's a good question. It hasn't so far. We've talked about the subject. We've tried to understand it as best we can and then make any adjustments. We haven't come up with any firm conclusions on just how the impact of the sticky substance and what it does. Our core ingredients that we've liked historically and even now haven't really involved that substance or that thought of that substance. So it's something we're going to keep looking at and keep diving into to see if there is a change needed.
And just the last 2 drafts, obviously last year was 5, this year is 20 rounds. What challenges did that present? Or are you guys thirsting for 40 rounds again? Do you guys want to get back to that?
We would like more rounds, to be honest. We still left today with more talent on the board that we'd like to draft. We're going to try to after draft. There's a $20,000 possibility that if the kids, if that number will work for a kid, we will try to sign some kids after the draft. But we think there's at least another 10 rounds of talent up there. And, if Major League Baseball would allow us, we would take them.
And with the college guys, there was a worry last year with the 5 rounds that guys would go back and it would create sort of a log jam. Did you guys see that, and did that impact the player pool at all this year?
It actually, we thought, added to the depth, and now it added more to the arm depth than we probably expected. We thought it'd be more like an even position player pitcher added depth. So it really just helped us where, I think, our 5th, 6th, 7th rounders are just really more talented at those spots than usual.
Hey, Billy, we didn't get to talk to you yesterday. What can you tell us about Huback, your first pick of the second day?
Huback, yeah, he's an exciting pitching prospect. We had some like Walker Buehler comps with the body type. He's a leaner, kind of twitchier, athletic kid. He's really bright. He's analytical. We really like the way just his stuff plays. He has more of the four-seam fastball and curveball kind of profile that we like. He's committed to Wake Forest. We're going to try hard to sign him, but we really like the talent and thought he was one of our favorite high school right-hand pitchers.
And I know Nastrini dealt with some command stuff this year. What kind of makes you confident that you can just kind of get the best out of those tools?
Yeah, we did a lot of work on Nastrini and trying to understand the situation as best we can. We had a lot of connections to the kid, to the family, to the program at UCLA, and we really felt comfortable with what happened, the progression he made. And if you go look at his last 3 weeks for the Santa Barbara Foresters, we thought it was a dominant 3 weeks to kind of prove some of the changes we thought he made. We all understand making changes during a college season for a high level program like UCLA is just tough. And once he was able to get out of the program and after the season and kind of work on a few key things, we think he made those changes, and we thought it was a substantial sample size of improvement to make us feel comfortable.
Hey, Billy, on the college side, I mean, how much has sort of like the added eligibility issue stuff and then some of the NIL stuff impacted guys' signability concerns and sort of like how guys sort of approach the draft leverage-wise?
It was really hard. I think we probably made more phone calls per draft this year than in any other year in the past. I think you just couldn't count on the usual senior and knowing he could sign because they had another year of leverage. So it made it extremely difficult to gauge that and understand what players would take less money and what players we'd feel confident we could sign. It was extremely difficult.
Billy, I don't want you to speculate, obviously, but in those calls, what kind of leverage do these guys have nowadays? A kid who can go back for his senior year to play college baseball.
It's tough. I mean, I think if it came down to which kids really valued their education and that extra year versus which kids just really wanted to go play pro ball and kind of get that path started. In most cases, they just don't have that extra year of eligibility. And so when they did, it was a real decision on their hands. And so that did give them some leverage. It made it extremely tough on us to understand the situation. And instead of the stereotypical, he's a senior, he'll sign, we can count on it. It just took a lot of extra work from the area scouts in the background and understand the situation.
What did you think about the timing of the draft, doing it a little later than usual?
I thought it was a little too late. I understand the concept. Personally, I thought I liked to be a little sooner. That extra month was long, really long.
Why sooner?
I just like the timing of the players getting done and us. To be honest, I enjoyed the extra time to get organized and really sift through these players in a second or third layer. But it was just too long. And I think in some ways it allows the extra time allows teams to catch up on guys you might have liked or valued more or targeted. And it just kind of allowed the whole industry to catch up and it be more of an even playing field. So I like a little bit of time, but too much time kind of felt like it was against our competitive advantage in some ways.
The first position player you took, Mike Sirota, has some pretty positive reports out there about him, but question about whether he'll go to college. Where did he kind of fit into your picture?
We like Mike a lot. We're kind of hoping in some ways that we could create enough money as he was a target selection. There is a lot of positive reviews. Our scouts loved him. They did a great job on him. I think the way it looks at this point is probably a tougher sign and probably goes to school and unless the circumstances change. But we wanted to have him and select him and just have him there in case something unexpected happens.
Billy, you might have covered this base already, but I joined a little late. Forgive me. But what is the way that you guys drafted? What does it say about the depth of position players at the lower level and the player development level? Player development system, forgive me.
Yeah, I mean, that was part of it. And like we're still working through like year one of the new roster restrictions and the four full-time affiliates. So we're still working through how that's going to work out. But we felt confident about our international Latin America position player group coming up, and felt like it was a talented group and wanted to clear a pathway for those guys to play at the lower affiliate. And so that was our talent bar. And as we kept comparing some of the drafted or potential drafted players to those group, we felt comfortable that group is going to be high level and impactful, and it just didn't really measure up this year. So it doesn't happen like that every year. It was kind of unique the way the roster management aspect worked, and then with what we think is a good international group coming.
Hey, Billy, were you surprised that Sirota was still available in the 16th round?
A little bit. I mean, I thought maybe we were ahead of where the industry valued him. We had him a little higher. So I thought we were one of the few teams that really valued him. His commitment to Northeastern is real. So I'm sure that was a factor for a lot of teams. And so I think once it got to a certain part of the draft, no, I wasn't surprised. But yes, in terms of his talent level, yes.
And Billy, just to be clear, you guys are capped at $20,000 per signing after the draft.
Correct. That rule from last year is still in place. We can offer someone $20,000 after the draft.
That's pretty limiting, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. We're trying, and we got a few cases out there that we think it's going to work. Some of the older kids with less eligibility have expressed interest in signing at that amount. So we got a few cases we think are going to happen.
Hey, Billy, just kind of overall, I know you've talked before about just the difficulties of kind of going into this year with everything COVID did. And if a guy has maybe like an off year, is it because of just the last year, or is it because of something bigger? I mean, how do you kind of validate what you saw from a guy maybe before the pandemic or, versus now? And how do you kind of just judge that?
It was really difficult because in most cases, the performance might have been their freshman year in college, and then with the sophomore year cut short of COVID, which was almost like a non-factor in our eyes, and then you have a junior year performance. So you have like a 2-year gap there that's pretty significant. So in a lot of ways, I mean, obviously it's a very individual case-by-case study, but we had to do a lot of background extra work to try to figure out the why behind it. And it was tough because a lot of times you're talking about 2 years ago, a performance level that we just don't know how predictive that was or how much you could count on that as this whole thing changed. So it was definitely a more difficult year for analyzing and evaluating those college group.